Dr. Dan Yachter here for the weekly Wednesday segment, news, views, and weekly updates. Good to have you with us. And I've got a very important article to share, as well as an update from last night. Our masterclass went great. How to build a titanium immune system, building the immune system up like a muscle. How do you do that? How do you keep it strong for life? How to protect yourself, your family, your children, keep them strong and healthy? What are the strategies? We covered them last night. I'm going to touch upon the major highlights of the masterclass, not just how to build a titanium immune system, but how to grow a healthy, drug-free family. Strategies I've used for decades in my practice, now employing with my own young family. And these strategies are based upon what I call God's laws of life, health, and healing. These are principles that are built in. These are the factory settings of our body. If we work with our body and not against it, we literally can build our immune system like a muscle. And hey, CC, good to see you there. Thank you so much. Great to have you there, of course, at the masterclass last night, as always. And we are changing the community, one person, one family at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a recap of the masterclass information. We got several things we're going to cover here. But one of the articles that I posted in our group, and again, all of the topics that I discuss, you can find the full articles in our group, our private Facebook group, My Family, My Mission. I encourage you to go there, join, become part of the group, and you can get access to not only all of these articles that I discuss, but just about every day I'm posting in there. And we have videos, we have all kinds of content and resources that will help you and your family stay at their best health. So join that group, My Family, My Mission. We've got a couple of thousand part of that group right now, a couple of thousand members. And we want you to be part of that group so you can gain access to all of the information. If you are not part of our email newsletter or our email list, you're not regularly getting the emails that are coming out, make sure you message me so you can get on our email list. All the content, everything that we send out is free. We don't spam you. We don't bother you. We don't irritate you or annoy you. All of it is just rich in content. So what we do with the content that we delivered last night, over the next couple of weeks, we have about a series of 7 emails that we send out. It's all of the content from last night that was delivered at the masterclass, broken down into bite-sized chunks, delivered in a different type of presentation, and you get this through the emails. So make sure that we have your email address. If you want our content, it's free. We just need to be able to know where to send it. So give us your email if you'd like that information. We always have content coming out by way of email, and it's all kind of orbiting around what we give out at the master classes each month. So let's go ahead and dive into this first article here. Many people are aware of the fact that the Health and Human Services Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he recently has terminated multiple contracts for the platform that makes the mRNA COVID-19 vaccine. So again, I mentioned this last night, and I did want to make a correction to something I did say last night. I said there was $500 billion that was stopped. It's 500 million, not billion. $500 million has been canceled. $500 million in contracts has been canceled in regards to vaccine contracts. And I'm going to kind of just dive into this article here. The main thrust behind canceling or terminating multiple contracts was RFK Jr. said that they're basically ineffective, these vaccines, against upper respiratory infections. So the article goes into saying Health Secretary R.F. Kennedy Jr., in his department's latest move against messenger ribonucleic acid, mRNA technology, his department has canceled contracts for vaccines and therapeutics that utilize the mRNA platform. And this is a really important article It ties right into what we were discussing last night. We did a deep dive into vaccines of all kinds, including childhood vaccines. So here's what to know about the technology, the mRNA technology. The mRNA technology, through an injection, typically in the upper arm, is delivered into the body where it teaches cells to produce proteins, antibodies. With most mRNA vaccines, the modified mRNA is delivered with lipid nanoparticles. In the COVID-19 vaccines, mRNA instructs cells to make the same spike protein that's found in the COVID-19 virus. If you get what's called the naive or basically a direct exposure, the immune system recognizes the protein as foreign and produces antibodies to fight it. So your immune system recognizes what's coming in, starts producing antibodies. This is kind of what we talked about last night. It's kind of bypassing the innate natural immunity. That's that entire process which I laid out last night, and it's going to kind of artificial immunity or artificially stimulating the adaptive side, the acquired immune system, kind of tricking the immune system into producing antibodies without going through the natural immunity sequence, or what I call syntax. At the end of the process, our bodies learn how to develop these antibodies that could have a protective effect against future exposures. I'm going to get into this. When the vaccines were rolled out, the vaccine companies and officials said that the mRNA quickly left the body. That mRNA technology quickly left the body, but that has proven to be incorrect. Studies have found that the mRNA is in the blood about a month after vaccine or vaccination, and in the lymph nodes 2 months after receipt of the vaccine. So the article has, there's a lot in here, and the main thing, or the gist of the article that I really wanted to share with you, is the main reason why $500 million of funding was pulled from Emory and TIBA. So again, Kennedy said in a statement that officials are canceling contracts with Emory University and TIBA Biotech that were funded by the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority. The authority's website lists an Emory project they were developing an inhaled type of antiviral platform or vaccine, and the same thing with the TIBA technology as well. So they pulled the funding. It's $500 million. It's a lot of funding. And the article goes into quite a bit, but Dr. Robert Malone and others talk about the fact that the problem with the technology is this: the mRNA only codes for a small part of the viral protein that you would normally be exposed to through natural immunity or just direct exposure in the environment, and usually a single antigen, one mutation, and the vaccine becomes ineffective. So let's kind of roll our sleeves up and dive into that one, because this is the main reason why the contracts were canceled. Dr. Robert Malone, who's helping the CDC, who's working with the agencies now, who's a co-developer of this mRNA technology. So again, a very important article to dive into, but the main reason why there is a problem with this technology is this. And we talked about, again, if you were at the Masterclass last night, you really got a great overview of this in terms of how the immune system works, how the human immune system is designed to work naturally when your body's naturally exposed to antigens, what it does versus something being injected directly into your bloodstream, the problems with that. But the main reason why all this funding is getting pulled, and the reason why these mRNA injections have been deemed ineffective, especially for upper respiratory infections, is this reason. When you inject something in, the normal route of an antigen, a pathogen, is either being breathed in, swallowed, It's typically introduced that way. Sometimes if there's a breach of the skin, like a splinter being driven into your body through your skin, piercing your skin, but typically it's inhaled or digested, not injected intramuscularly directly into the bloodstream with zero opposition from your immune system initially. What happens is when you inject something in, the immune system gets hyper locked in or hyper focused on that one antigen, that one invader. And again, this is not typically how something's brought into the body naturally, environmentally. So the immune system gets hyper locked in on this one piece, one spike protein, this one antigen that's coming into the body. Now, while it's hyper focused on not just that, but the same thing applies to childhood vaccines, whether it's diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, MMR, measles, mumps, rubella, whatever it is getting shot in, the immune system gets hyper focused on this one thing. And while that's happening, one, a lot of other things are now able to get in. That's number one. Number two, because you now trick the immune system, it actually weakens the immune system. And if you were there last night, you now understand how this happens. And because of the weakening effect, it really allows for other major things to grow, because now you've created confusion and immune imbalance, which can lead to autoimmune reactions, which can allow things like type 1 diabetes to develop, autoimmune conditions like eczema, psoriasis, and others as well. There are a lot of other autoimmune diseases that can result, including brain and neurological inflammatory issues like autism and anything that can fall on the autism spectrum, including Asperger's or severe cases of autism. This is all documented in the medical literature. So again, while your immune system is hyper-focused on this one thing, it's locked in the case of COVID, but the problem remains is that the COVID virus doesn't remain the COVID virus in the environment. It mutates, just like the flu virus or any other virus. It mutates hundreds, thousands, sometimes millions of times in over 2, 3, 4 years. So again, that injection that you got that may have spiked the antibodies in your body for that one specific strain now has your immune system only looking for this, while all these other strains now, these mutated strains, are hitting your body and making this one vaccine highly ineffective against these other things. And now you're getting respiratory infections in spite of the vaccines that you got. In fact, the research shows the people who are getting the COVID shots and the boosters were, in fact, much more likely to get reinfected over and over again, because, again, of this hyper-focused effect that you get when you try to create artificial immunity. You really confuse the immune system. That's why RFK Jr. came out with the statement saying that these vaccines, these mRNA technology vaccines, are highly ineffective at protecting you against upper respiratory infections, primarily because of the mutation effect and this hyper locking in effect. So again, that's the gist of this article. And that's why $500 million of contracts have been canceled. So just to get into a little bit about the content last night that I covered, I'm just going to do a quick flyover. And then in the coming weeks, I'll dive a little deeper into some major topics that I covered at the How to Build a Titanium Immune System. We talked about the main players in innate immunity, the inborn immune system, the immune system that your mother gave you as you were developing and coming out of the womb. We talked about the main players. We talked about the 3 immune systems. You don't just have one. You have an external barrier, you have a first-line innate immune system, and then you have an adaptive or acquired immune system that grows and develops and learns throughout your lifetime. We talked about vaccines, childhood vaccines, the childhood schedule, I actually put into the slide deck, all the attendees now have all of the vaccine inserts, which show the very damaging effects of the vaccines, including brain inflammation, brain swelling, and many other complications that go along with vaccinations. So we really talked quite a bit about the vaccine issues. Many people don't know that years ago, in the 1960s and 70s, it was basically discovered that the vaccines grew very well off of aborted fetal tissue culture medium. So there were cell lines that were used, aborted fetal tissue, mainly from lung, in the 60s and 70s, that were used to grow certain vaccines. And they're still being used today, the same ones that were actually used in the 60s and 70s. And so we talked about that last night, that being a problem, how the active ingredient in many of these vaccines is outpaced by the amount of fetal DNA. In fact, the Verivax vaccine, the fetal DNA is over 2 times contained in that vaccine, 2 times the amount of the active ingredient. So this is really important to know, especially if you're actively vaccinating your children. Vaccines that use the fetal-derived cell lines from, in particular, the WI-38 from 1962 and the MRC-5 fetal-derived cell line from 1966. So the MMR, measles, mumps, rubella, varicella, chickenpox, the herpes zoster, shingles, the hepatitis A vaccines, rabies vaccines, smallpox, monkeypox vaccine. All of these come from aborted fetal-derived cells. And even though they're purified and there's all kinds of processes that happen before they finish the manufacturing the vaccines, the DNA fragments are brought over from these aborted fetal tissues that the vaccines are cultured on and in the medium, and it's brought over into the vaccines that are being injected into your children. So we talked about that. And again, as I always tell patients and participants at the master classes, I bring receipts, I bring the research, I bring the proof. I don't just spout off, and I don't just make stuff up. I literally bring the exact research, the sources, the references, the sightings. You can go there, you can find the stuff in the documented scientific literature. This is not just something that I'm making up, that your childhood vaccines are cultured in a medium that contains aborted fetal tissue. Insane stuff. I couldn't make this up. And again, many of the vaccines, not all of them, but many of them contain fragments of this DNA, aborted fetal tissue. We talked about the chronic rise, the radical rise in childhood illness today compared to just 30, 40 years ago. 28,000% increase in autism since 1980. In 2000, Johns Hopkins School of Public Health reviewed vital statistics. So vaccines, what they made, they actually put out a statement. In 2000, Johns Hopkins School of Public Health reviewed vital statistics data to assess the degree to which medical interventions contributed to the decrease in infectious disease mortality in the 20th century. Medical interventions such as antibiotics and vaccines, touted as miracles, were found to have played a minute role. The explanation for the improvement in public health was improvements in nutrition and sanitation. Earlier research concluded that less than 1% of the decline in mortality from infectious disease in the US in the 20th century could be attributed to modern medical interventions, including drugs, vaccines, and surgery. Only 1%. The rest of it is better nutrition, better sanitation, people washing their hands, people bathing regularly, maybe a water filter on your water supply coming into your house, like all these different things that are hygienic in nature, better sanitation. Hey, thank you, Mr. Reed. I appreciate that. Yeah, we did a deeper dive than normal into the vaccines, and I got a lot of great feedback from that. I appreciate that, Mr. Reed. And I think a lot of patients commented on the fact that I put the vaccine inserts for all the major vaccines. That's in the slide deck, so you can literally see when they tell you vaccines are safe and effective. That only 1 in a million chance is a bad reaction. In fact, the Lazarus study showed years ago, government report showed that it's more like 1 in every 37 that there's either a mild to very severe reaction or in fact deadly reaction to a vaccine. And one of the leading reactions is brain swelling, brain inflammation, spinal cord inflammation. You inflame the brain enough times, multiple dosages, that can lead to very serious things, including autism. Autism is a brain inflammatory issue. So we talked quite a bit about that. We also got into more of the science behind COVID shots, the negative outcomes. This is another study that came up, or PubMed, National Library of Medicine, PubMed, COVID-19 vaccines and adverse events of special interest, a multinational global vaccine data network, a cohort study of 99 million vaccinated individuals. Okay, some people may say, well, COVID shots saved millions of people. Well, there are other studies published online. This one, none as large as this one, 99 million vaccinated individuals. This multi-country analysis, the conclusion of the study, confirmed pre-established safety signals for myocarditis, pericarditis, heart inflammation, heart swelling, pericarditis, the sac around the heart becoming inflamed, Guillain-Barré syndrome, paralysis, and cerebral venous sinus thrombosis, a rare form of stroke, all linked to the COVID shot. Okay, and again, what I try to do at the masterclass is I present the science. I make sure that it's accurately delivered at the classes. If there's something not right or not accurate or something that needs to be clarified, I make sure that everybody sitting there is getting the right information. And again, a lot of it's shocking when you find out, just as I did when I found this out, that childhood vaccines, which I had a lot of them, are cultured on strains from the 1960s and 70s of aborted fetal tissue. That's insanity. I think that the families in our community want to know this. Okay, I wish my parents would have known that. They probably would have made a different decision, but that's information and knowledge that the community needs to have. For those of you guys who tried to make it to the masterclass, who may come here regularly or maybe reached out and said, I really want to get my hands on that information, message me, let me know. I'll try to get you some of the information, some of the slides. Again, mainly for the ones who come regularly, who just couldn't make it last night. I want you to have this information. We talked about ways to know if your immune system is strong or weak. We talked about a very important ratio last night, the NL ratio, a ratio that can take your CBC, your complete blood count, and in one ratio tell you if you have a strong or weak immune system or an imbalanced immune system. So we talked about the lab work you want to get to accurately look at your immune system. We talked about ways to feed your immune system. In fact, specific ways, the specific cells of your immune system, the fuel that they need work properly, and how to feed them the right fuel. Which components of your immune system, which fuel do they need? Where do you find them? In foods and supplements, which vitamins, which herbs, which are the most potent things? Vitamin D, talked about that last night. the most important nutrient, the most important vitamin for your immune system, vitamin D, without question. And which component of your immune system needs it the most? We talked about the bone marrow. The bone marrow, the long bones, stem cell production. The stem cells differentiate as they're being manufactured, they differentiate into platelets, red blood cells, and white blood cells. Platelets for clotting, red blood cells to carry oxygen into the body, white blood cells or leukocytes differentiate into all of the different innate cells of the immune system, including T lymphocytes and eventually B lymphocytes or B cells. Okay, so the stem cells or the bone marrow is the upstream origin of all of the immune system action. And by the way, all governed by the nervous system. We talked about that as well. So feeding the bone marrow, what are the key supplements? What are the key nutrients? Which are the key players in nurturing and nourishing the stem cells? We talked all about that last night, but primarily vitamin D. You want to optimize vitamin D? Vitamin D is the key vitamin, key player in making sure that stem cell production, stem cell differentiation is happening in a robust, healthy way, that your body's being supplied with the right amount of white blood cells, a good supply, a healthy supply. We talked about symptoms being the cure. What are fevers? What are symptoms in general? How to work with the body, not against it. The symptoms are the cure. They are survival reflexes, coughing, sneezing, fever, burning things out of the body. What are these things doing? Understanding what symptoms are, how to honor them. They are survival reflexes, better out than in. How to work with the body and not against it. The more often you work with these symptoms instead of shutting them down, working with them, the stronger the body gets. We talked all about this last night. Had quite a lengthy conversation, a 90-minute conversation. We talked about, again, the foods that nurture and nourish the immune system, the ones that break the body down, and the ones that enhance or support the immune system. Talk about green tea being a major player in that, in stem cell health. Talked about some tips for moms developing babies. When babies come out, what are some of the things you want to do to protect the microbiome, to protect the immune system of that child? Talked about, of course, the importance. Please, 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 if you're a parent, do not leave chiropractic checkups out of the picture. Chiropractic checkups are essential. They are an essential part of not just growing and maintaining a healthy immune system, but raising up healthy children, a healthy family, healthy individuals. So one of the things I mentioned last night, Dr. Gutmann and Gottfried, manual medicine, German researchers, and also doing research in the field of chiropractic. They examined more than 1,000 infants just after birth, and it was determined that over 80% demonstrated upper cervical subluxation, a bone out of alignment, atlas vertebrae, first bone in the neck. The baby's born with subluxation, irritating, agitating, inflaming the nerves, upper cervical area. These babies had many health problems, including difficulty nursing, difficulty sleeping, colic, restlessness, torticollis, conjunctivitis, and many other issues. If the bone, through the birthing process, if there's force put into that area and it moves the bone out of alignment, it can create a lot of communication issues. It can create a lot of health imbalance in the body. After the correction of the atlas subluxation, the blockage of the atlas, these medical doctors, these German medical doctors, reported demonstrable improvement in all of these babies, all of these conditions. So this is a critical, foundational piece, component of any healthcare regimen, having not only ourselves as adults being checked regularly, but children, babies. My kids were checked basically right out of the womb. They've been checked every week, every couple of weeks of their lives, especially now that they're getting very athletically involved. I make sure that we're checking them even more regularly because bumps, bruises, jars, jolts can knock the spinal vertebrae out of alignment, creating a distortion between the communication, the nerve impulses from the brain, trying to get into the organs, tissues, cells, glands, just trying to control the body properly. It creates a lack of coordination, a lack of health. Instead of ease, dis-ease, and chiropractic adjustments help restore the normal communication into the body, allowing for ease to come about, and in a child for them to grow and develop normally, naturally, and strongly. So a critical piece of the puzzle, not only the immune puzzle, but just overall health and well-being for you and your family. We finished up last night with the key strategies for protecting yourself, your immune system, your family. I went through those. And then the tests, the best supplements, the different things that we do at our office. The main thing that we do is we test, we don't guess. We try to figure out exactly what your body needs, not just for your immune system, but for overall health and well-being. And by the way, if you were there last night, we gave you a very special gift. You were able to scan the QR code and download the Brain Masterclass content from last month. I created a guide, a very special guide, only available for those who came last night. Now, if you tried downloading the guide and you couldn't get to the guide, let me give you the code now, because you guys couldn't get it last night because we forgot to give it to you. It is the code to get the guide. If you scan the QR code and couldn't get the guide, the code that you need to use to get the guide is one word: free guide book. Free guide book. FREEGUIDEBOOK. Free guide book. So now you have the code. I apologize that it wasn't available for you last night, but if you scan the code last night, it should still be on your phone. Put that code in there, and you'll be able to get the guidebook free. Every month, so for example, last night, all the content that we went over, the building a titanium immune system content will be put into a beautifully created guide. And the next month when you show up, as a gift for showing up, you get the guide for free. If you don't show up, you can get it on our website, but it costs $20. So in fact, I think it costs a little bit more than, I'm not sure the exact cost, but there's a cost to it. But when you come to the master classes, we give it to you as a free gift. So again, I thank those who came last night. It was awesome. Had a great class, a lot of learning, a lot of growing, and getting armed with the truth. The truth shall set you free. Even the greatest of skeptics who come to the master classes, especially last night's master class, when they get the truth, everything backed up with research, medical content, references, citations, where to find it, how to fact check it. It's undeniable when you see it there. It's all backed up and documented. And that's one of the things, if not the greatest things, that the participants appreciate, is that it's all backed up, all referenced. Everything I give you, you can be sure, is vetted heavily, screened heavily, researched heavily before it's delivered at the master classes. So you can be sure that you're getting accurate content. Coming up in September 23rd, Healthy Heart. How to build a healthy heart, how to maintain a healthy cardiovascular system for life. Many people come to that masterclass looking for ways to live a drug-free life, a drug-free, heart-healthy life. And we give you strategies, not for me to take you off your drugs, but for the lifestyle strategies potentially to help you navigate your health path, your own health journey, and potentially live a drug-free existence. So mark your calendars, 23rd of September. And we want you there. Come learn and grow. Again, you don't have to be a patient here. You can come there free. We want you here. Every masterclass builds on the last. And what I tell my patients in the community, throughout the year, we're trying to achieve two things by you coming to these master classes. One, providing you with encyclopedic knowledge. At the end of the year, each master class strung together with the last one. So at the end of the year, when you're attending all of them, if not all of them, most of them, you will possess encyclopedic knowledge on health and healing. You will become a health and wellness expert. And really, ultimately, secondarily, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to turn every single person who sits there at the master classes, especially my own patients, I'm literally trying to turn them into their own doctors. I want you, when you're not in my office, I tell my patients, I want you literally to have the confidence that I have with my own family in stewarding their health. I want you to have and possess the confidence and the authority that I have in regards to understanding the health terrain. I want you to have the confidence that I have when I go to make a health decision or choice for myself, my own body, or for my family. I want you to have that confidence. And that confidence can only come from understanding. That understanding comes from knowledge, education. It comes from constant monthly reinforcement. And then in between, integrating and implementing that knowledge. That's the purpose. The ultimate purpose is literally turning my patients in the community into their own doctors for themselves and for their families. So, as always, I thank you for joining me on this weekly segment. Be back with you next week. Dr. Dan Yachter signing off. God bless.